If the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome, or revisiting something that you do consistently over and over again and expect a different outcome, then welcome to insanity, my friends. That's right. We're back. It's the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast 2.0.
Welcome to the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast, and enjoy the show.
Have you missed me? You may be asking yourself, why in the world did this guy decide to come back? Well, it's pretty simple. There's a number of reasons. Number one is the hockey card market, or I should say the trading card market as a whole, has gone through some drastic changes since my last episode of this podcast back in September of 2025. Now, we're going to go over all those things throughout the podcast, and that's why I decided to come back. It's because I think the market, the landscape, and a lot of things has changed. And I just want to give you my opinion. I want to kind of help you maybe navigate some of the pitfalls and landmines that are now problems in the trading card world, as well as share some of my knowledge on different things that might help you through your journey. As you know, my name is Jay. The last time I was on a podcast, you recall I had one previous to this called the Hockey Am Podcast, a little short-lived, but still nonetheless, it was a fun podcast. But the main podcast, and that's what's returning, is the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Pod. And that's what you're listening to today. Many people reached out to me when that podcast ended, and they had a lot of kind words to say. Some people said they missed it. Some people were wondering, hey, are you ever going to come back? Some people were like, I'm glad you're not on. No, not many people said that at all. Overall, there was a lot of kind comments. People reached out to me for some advice on things like trades or card values or the best way to sell cards. And the more and more I got these Instagram messages or different messages, emails, I said, maybe it's time to come back. And on top of that, once I kind of hinted that I was thinking of coming back, there was an overwhelming amount of people that were excited and wished me the best. And that touched me deep down in my heart. And that's why I'm back. That, and I got a lot of things to complain about as far as the hockey card and the trading card world. So what better way to do it than just to have your own podcast? Now, if you listen to my previous podcast, you know what the format was. We're going to talk hockey cards, maybe some other interesting thing. But the main difference for this podcast will be, I'm not really going to get into collecting. The reason why is because I feel like there's a number of podcasts out there or YouTube channels that have people on that talk about their collections, how they do things, why they do things, all different mindsets. I want to come at this in a different slant. I want to look at it from this standpoint. As you know, I'm someone who likes to buy, sell, and trade cards. I don't really consider myself a collector. I consider myself more as a hockey card appreciator, meaning I will buy cards or trade for cards that I like for some reason. It could be how it looks, could be the player, could be the team, could simply be, hey, maybe I can take this card and flip it and make a few bucks on it. That's something I want to focus on. I want to focus on the economics of this hobby as far as maybe how you can look at things a little bit different to help buy, sell, and trade, especially when it comes to your hockey card. So that's what we're going to do. That's what our main hope or our main thought is for this podcast, is more on the economic side of it, as well as just my opinions on different subjects, which you will hear today. So today, what can you expect on the episode of the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast 2.0, the first one out of the gate? First, start off with some things that if I had this podcast running, some headlines, these would have been things in the NHL world that I would talk about. Then, after that, going to go into a favorite that a lot of you seem to like, and I'm going to give you 3 hockey cards to look at during the off season that maybe you want to think about purchasing now, because I feel as though there's potential room for these to grow, and I'll give you the reasons why. Then finally, in the final segment of this podcast, I'm going to give you my opinion on a topic. This is something that I'm going to do a little more regularly, not every single episode, but a little more regularly, where I discuss something in the trading card world, the hockey card world, maybe even the NHL, as far as things that I think about when it comes to certain subjects and what my opinions are. Now, as I've stated before, these are just my opinion. These are not facts all the time. I mean, I will do research, I'll come up with things, but I just want to talk to you like you and I sitting at a card shop and we were talking about this subject or any other subject or any kind of card we want to talk about. That's the idea of the podcast. You and I are going to spend the next half an hour to 45 minutes just talking about cards like we were in a trading card shop. So without further ado, let's get into our podcast. So as I mentioned, I thought I'd go over 10 or so things as far as NHL headlines that happened since the last episode of my podcast aired back in 2025. And these are things that interest me. I would have talked about to some degree, but these are just NHL related items. So let's start things off with the USA won gold medal in the Winter Olympics. It was an exciting tournament. I really enjoyed watching it as a whole. U.S., Canada, as well as some of the other teams that were a little surprising at times. You would think the U.S. and Canada would just have a real easy time with majority of these teams, and that wasn't the case. USA struggled with a couple of teams. Canada struggled with some teams, unfortunately. In the end, you did have a U.S. versus Canada for gold, and the U.S. came out victorious in that matchup. So that was very interesting. Now, let's talk about the Stanley Cup. This past year, the Carolina Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup, and that was wonderful. This is a team that's been knocking on the door for a few years, but they never were able to kind of break through and win the cup. I thought the quintessential moment for that Stanley Cup was when Freddie Anderson wasn't able to go, and they had Bussy come in. I feel as though Bussy gave them that little extra spark to get him over the finish line. He played wonderfully. Usually when you put in a backup goalie, the team rallies around them because their thought process is, hey, here's some guy who hasn't played much, whether it's in the series or in the season. We kind of got to step up our game to really help him so he can thrive and we can win this game and this series as a whole. Now, with that being said, I mean, come on, you're in the Stanley Cup Finals. I would hope you would already be at that highest pinnacle as far as performance goes, which I think the Carolina Hurricanes were. I thought that the Vegas Knights played really well. At the end of it all, they shouldn't really win it, but it wouldn't have surprised me. Maybe it goes 7 and that's coin flip. But as mentioned, the Hurricanes end up winning the Stanley Cup. Now, a side story that goes along with that, which is kind of a little, I'll say the word gross to me, is the owner of the Hurricanes puts his family's names on the cup. And he excluded a player who didn't play in the series, but played in enough games during the season to warrant his name on the cup. But instead, the owner chose to put his name, his wife's name, and his 5 kids' names on there. And he excluded the player Tom Dundon. Now, many of you might be going, who in the world is Tom Dundon? I have no idea who he is, but he did play for the Carolina Hurricanes. And he's sitting at home with his name not on the cup, even though he didn't play in the Stanley Cup Finals. But he played in enough games and contributed enough to where he could have been opted on there. But instead, the owner took all those extra spots and made it about himself. Just because you write the check that got the Stanley Cup doesn't mean you got smashed into the boards or took a puck to the face or, took a slash to the wrist, but you signed the check that won the Stanley Cup. So kudos to you for putting your name on that cup because you deserve it. Another story that was interesting to me was the fact that the Gavin McKenna lottery comes out. And look at this. Surprise, surprise. the Toronto Maple Leafs end up with a number 1 overall pick to select them. And all I could think about while I was watching this happen is watch the way in which the NHL is going to screw the Bruins, who had the rights to this pick, as long as it wasn't a top 5 pick. Let's see how the NHL could really stick it to the Bruins. And stick it to them they did. You went from number 5 or 6 Toronto to number 1, not number 3, 4, even 5. And at the end of the day, the Bruins lose out on the pick. But either way, that's just a bitter Bruins fan talking. So in the 26th NHL entry draft, Gavin McKenna goes number 1 to the Maple Leafs. Now, will this help them turn around their franchise? Will they build off of this? Will Austin Matthews be better? Will other people like Tavares be better? Nyes be better? How about Willie Nylander? We'll see. I mean, they have had enough, let's call it talent through the years, and they seem to be sliding down that hill ever faster. Let's see if this new kind of iteration, or I shouldn't say iteration, that's not even a word, I don't think, people, but this new team, let's see how they're going to perform with the number 1 overall pick, and that is Gavin McKenna. Next, the NHL unveiled the fact that they want to expand to an 84-game schedule. This is pretty interesting to me because the last time they had an 84-game regular season schedule was back, you'll recall, in the 93-94 season. Now, the expanded slate is about to begin this September 29th, 2026. It's forcing now teams to only have a 4-game preseason limit, which I applaud. I don't think we need a ton of preseason games, especially for veterans. That's what the season's for. 80-something games. The first 20 games is really just a tune-up to get things going, and then the season starts after that quarter mark, if you would. But it's 2 more games, and 2 more games for a sport that's grueling like hockey. Well, this may end up changing some things a little bit here and there, especially as we get towards the end of the season. But either way, I thought this was pretty interesting that we've expanded to an 84-game schedule, and we're talking also about expansion in the NHL, a couple more teams. Looks like it's going to be a team somewhere in Texas, Austin, or maybe what was the other one I want to say? It was Houston. Let's see if they get the team. I think it's going to be Austin. We'll see. Next, during the season, Mitch Marner got traded to the Vegas Golden Knights, who then in turn make a Stanley Cup run. Now, Marner was traded from Toronto to Vegas, and the main reason for that was felt like Toronto was done with them. It felt like Mitch Marner was done with Toronto, especially the fans there who were just roasting this guy. So it was time for him to move on, and he made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. In a weird way, I was hoping that they would win, the Vegas Golden Knights, just so Mitch Marner could kind of look back at Toronto and go, there you go, guys. Look at what you did. How about the fact that Sergei Bobrovsky leaves Florida for Toronto? Now, the star netminder shook up free agency by signing this lucrative 3-year, $21 million contract with the Maple Leafs. Is he worth $7 million a year? Is it going to be the same Sergeant Bob that we saw in Florida who really helped the Florida Panthers get to the Cup Finals, win a Cup? I feel like Toronto always gets that guy just as he falls off the other side of his career, meaning his production goes down. He's starting to get a little bit older. Is that what Bobrovsky is? Well, the fact that maybe Gavin McKenna and Austin Matthews will revitalize him and he'll be that top goalie. I mean, that conference is tough. Look at all those teams and how they improve. Toronto looks like they improve, but we shall see. Now let's move to Florida. We mentioned Bobrovsky left, but here's the other interesting thing that happened in Florida. Brady Tkachuk, how about that? Brady Tkachuk was traded to the Panthers from the Ottawa Senators. Now you'll recall that the Florida Panthers already have his brother Matthew on the team. So basically what I took away from all this, now that Brady's there with his brother Matthew, I think we could look at Florida as far as the overall IQ and that it's dropped a little bit.
Brady, you deflected there, both Brady and Matthew, please.
I didn't like it, and that's all I got.
Also, when will the Florida Panthers add the Hanson brothers from the Charlestown Chiefs? I mean, that's what it kind of feels like, is they're turning into the NHL's version, the Charlestown Chiefs. We shall see. I mean, Brady Tkachuk is a star. Matthew Tkachuk, he's okay. I think Brady's a little bit better. But does that team, though, do they have what it takes to come back from pretty bad season last year and also losing Bobrovsky? Do they have what it takes to get back to that elite status as far as what Florida's used to for the last 5+ years? All right, Canada, you didn't win the gold, but you did win the Four Nations face-off. That was a great tournament. I said it a long time ago back then while it was ongoing that I think this is exactly what the NHL needs. It's something exciting. It drew in people, not only fans, but the casual observer, even new fans, because those games were so exciting. Now, you'll recall that Canada again played the U.S. in TD Garden on February of 2026, and they won the tournament, that inaugural tournament, when Connor McDavid scored a thrilling overtime goal against the U.S. to capture that title. I hope the NHL learned a lesson here, is that they put a great product out there as far as what this tournament is. Never mind NHL All-Star games. Those are terrible. All-Star games in every sport are terrible because nobody's playing in them. They're just there to show off and score goals or score buckets and hit home runs, and nobody's playing the game like it's meant to be played. All I ask, NHL, please don't mess this up. Please don't figure out dumb ways to mess up what's a great product. You'll recall when we were doing the outside games, they had one during New Year's Day. That was great. Then they proceeded to water it down with a lot of stadium series and outdoor games and who knows what they're calling them. And then the next thing you know, they're not even putting the inaugural one that was on New Year's Day on New Year's Day. People were tuning in going, where's the game? Oh, no, by the way, it's the next day. Kudos to Canada for winning the Four Nations face-off, but come on, people. Let's tell the NHL, don't mess this one up. Now let's close it out with a couple of off-season signings. I thought an interesting one was Connor Bedard. He signed a 5-year extension. Now the Blackhawks now committed to their franchise centerpiece by signing Bedard to a lucrative 5-year, $75 million contract extension. What was interesting is he signed this contract after he was injured in practice. We all saw the video, right? It looks like shoulder injury, and he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks at least of the season. But Chicago is smart enough to lock down this kid for the next 5 years. I have to admit, that's not a bad deal, especially with the idea that with the new salary cap, it's going to go up in a couple of years. This deal is going to look very good to you Chicago Blackhawks fans. So kudos, guys, for keeping this kid in Chicago for 5 more years. Now, the big story in the offseason to me was Leo Carlsson. I want to give a golf clap to the Philadelphia Flyers for offering Leo Carlsson an $18 million offer sheet. I mean, let's talk about the fact that back in the day, Pat Verbeek of the Anaheim Ducks was looking to sign this kid for about, let's call it somewhere between $12 to $13 million. And here come the Flyers offering him $18 million. Well, guess what? When you do this offer sheet game, that's the game you got to play. You got to throw a number on a player like Leo Carlsson, who, let's be honest with you, hasn't earned this money yet. He is definitely an up-and-coming star in the NHL, but come on, $18 million a year, and he's had one good season? I don't know, but that's what you have to do when you want to try and draw a player away from a team when you're doing the offer sheet game. Now, Leo Carlsson, I think, is a genius because, right, He doesn't sign when they offer him 12, 13, whatever that number was. He says, let's play it out. And here come the Flyers, throw that big number on it. He's like, yeah, definitely. If this happens, I'm going there. $18 million, nothing to sneeze at. I mean, Kirill Kaprizov sitting at $17 million. And he has a lot longer history of production than Leo Carlsson. I just find it interesting that the Flyers went into this with the idea that we're not going to do what typically happens in the NHL. We're going to really go for it. Some people scoffed at this and again saying this isn't how business is done in the NHL. Well, you know what? It's 2026. Business has changed and the Flyers almost changed it on the dot. Congratulations to Leo Carlsson for grabbing the bag. $18 million, nothing to sneeze at. Now you got to prove yourself as far as, are you the guy that's worth $18 million? So there's just a few headlines that I thought, you know what? If I was still doing the podcast, that's what I would have talked about as far as NHL news. So now you're all caught up. Now we can talk about things that have happened recently, but we're not going to do that now. Next, we're going to move into 3 players during the off season that you should consider purchasing if you're thinking about players that you want to buy now that their card values might increase during the NHL season. This will be a normal kind of segment that we do. We're going to look at cards, we're going to look at players, and I'm going to give you some ideas. Every player or card that I mention will be somebody that I personally will be going after. Now, one of the things I want to do here too is I want to be very transparent. I want to show you the cards I'm going after. At some point, I will tell you the cards I picked up and what happened with them. If I sold them, if I trade them, what the outcome was. Basically giving you kind of a verbal spreadsheet, if you would, as far as I picked this guy up for this much, I sold him for this much, or I was able to trade him for this much, or maybe I picked a guy up for this much and I lost money on it. The reason why I want to do this is because we need to be more transparent in this hobby to help people understand how to better navigate it. And that's what I want to try to do here too. So let's start with 3 players and their specific cards that I think are going to be cards that are going to increase in value when the NHL season starts and as it progresses. Let's start out west. Now, I've talked about this guy before, and up until this point, I think I've been wrong. Well, this is kind of the last-ditch effort on this guy as far as investing in him. I have invested in him in the past, haven't made out too well with him. I don't want to say I've lost tremendously, but this guy, when I would purchase him with the thought that his value would go up, you know what? It hasn't really gone to where I thought it would go at times. So for some of his cards, I either broke even or I lost some money or I ended up just trading them away in a package for something else. Who is that player I'm talking about? Well, it's Quinton Byfield of the LA Kings. And specifically, we'll be looking at Quinton Byfield's Future Watch Auto Rookie Card, Raw. Quinton Byfield is a 6'5", 230-pound center who's 23 years old. He's a left-handed shot, and he was drafted in the 2020 draft, 2nd overall by the Kings. Quinton Byfield has played in 79 games where he has 24 goals and 25 assists. Nothing very spectacular there. But right off the bat, why am I interested in a guy like this? Especially after the fact that he's kind of stuck it to me in the past. Well, let's consider the fact that Quinton Byfield is poised to be, I think, awesome this season because he's going to step into the Los Angeles Kings situation or locker room, I should say, as now the undisputed first-line center following the retirement of a legend in Anze Kopitar. So that's something I look at is his situation is improving. Quinton Byfield has elite finishing skills. He's established a new career high with 24 goals last season. So again, a little bit of an increase, which is a good thing. You want to see increases. You don't want decreases when it comes to points. And you recall, he finished the year last year on a red hot streak. Wow. Getting back into a podcast, the tongue isn't quite working. Where he scored more goals over the final month than only a couple of NHL players. So he was putting the puck in the net. He's a physical player. He's one of those rare combination guys where he has size and he has speed and he has good hands. And that's a matchup nightmare for most other teams, especially in their offensive zone. Now, we talked about his increased opportunity, the fact that Kopitar retired. Now, Byfield should get heavy top line minutes, right? First line, as well as first line power play minutes. He is a talented player. If he's going to be playing with such people as Panarin and Kempe on 5-on-5 and with those guys on a power play unit, I mean, it's almost like that Connor McDavid effect with Zach Hyman, right? You play with talented players, your stats should go up. If they don't, that's a glaring red flag that maybe he's not the guy and the team will move on from him. On top of that, his face-off winning percentage has really gone up over the last year. That's what a team wants to see. Can you win face-offs? Can you then put the puck in the net? Can you contribute offensively? So again, a lot of opportunities for him to score. You'll recall when it comes to his Future Watch auto, during last season, this card would sell on average for $50 to $60 US. Now, if you look recently, his last 3 sales are in June of 26, sold for $72. Another sale in June of 26 for $78. And then the most recent sale was July of 26, where it sold for $102 US. Last season, $50 to $60. The hype train's already starting to roll. He's at $70, and the last sale was at $100. So this is my first player, is Quinton Byfield, his raw Future Watch auto, because again, opportunities coming to him. He is now deeper. I think he's 23 now, if I'm not mistaken. That's kind of when these guys start to find their stride. I mean, not everybody can be Macklin Celebrini and be 19 years old and just get the game. Quinton Byfield feels like he's going to be put in a really good situation where his stats should increase. And again, if we're buying this card for under $100 US, not that big a risk. And Future Watch autos usually hold their value pretty good. Worst case scenario, you pay, let's say, $100 US for this card. If it doesn't pan out, you could probably offload it in a trade or something. You could sell it for around $60, $70 and lesson learned. But again, he's got the opportunity. First line with 2 talented players, power play time with 2 talented players plus. He's going to be in key situations. He will be on the ice more. So that's why my thought process with the first player is Quinton Byfield of the LA Kings. Next, we're going to go to someone who's a little bit more steady and solid, and he plays in Dallas, and that is Wyatt Johnston. Now, we're going to look at Wyatt Johnston's Young Guns rookie card in PSA 10 format. Wyatt is a 23-year-old player who was born in Toronto, shoots right-handed, and in the 21 draft, he was drafted in the first round with the 23rd pick. So again, 23 years old. Now, why do I feel like Wyatt Johnston is poised to be an electric player this season? Well, he's already kind of proven himself. He had a recent campaign where he racked up 45 goals and 86 points last year in 82 games. He knows how to put points on the scoreboard. He has the ability to find the back of the net. There's no questioning that. He has elite league-leading power play performer, meaning when he's out there on the power play unit, he knows what to do. He knows how to set people up. He knows when to shoot. He's a smart player when it comes to offensive capability. And let's be honest with you, I understand they have players like Jason Robertson, but I gotta be honest with you. I like this kid. He's 23 years old. He's always been good. If you look at his last, I think it was 4 years, he's had 24 goals. Then he went up to 32 goals in a year. Then he went up to 33 goals. And again, last year was 45. Look at that trajectory. I mean, could we see Wyatt Johnston maybe scoring 50? Look what Cole Caulfield did. He lit the lamp up too. And again, same age, same type of player. I think Cole Caulfield's a little quicker than Wyatt Johnston, but still. When it comes to the power play, Wyatt led the entire NHL in power play goals and ranked near the top of the league in high danger goals, meaning he was in a spot to really put the puck in the back of the net. He's had year-to-year growth, right? We explained that when it came to his goals. It feels like the coaches in Dallas trust him. They lean on him in every single game situation. So again, 5-on-5 play. He's playing with talented players. He's definitely on the first power play unit. He's going to be out there a lot when this team needs to score. It's also been known that he has a very high hockey IQ. He's known for studying the game outside of the rink or not on the ice. And he finds ways to generate offense even against the toughest defensive pairings in the NHL. Wyatt Johnston and his future, or I should say his young guns, PSA 10, we have to consider the pop count. Now, one thing we've always said here is the lower the pop count, that's a good thing. We tend to try to find these players who are under 1,000 when it comes to pop count, PSA 10s. And currently, Wyatt's sitting at a pop count of 969. So a little more rare than your Jack Hughes or your Kirill Kaprizov. Now let's take a look at during last season, what his PSA 10 did. We look back to last season, during the season, when he was having this really great 45 goal campaign, that card was selling for over $200 US. All right, now let's flash forward to today. He's had 3 sales in the month of July. The latest one was $178 US. Then it's followed by $175 US. But notice this, the last sale in July was for $158 US. If we look at this situation, and let's say Wyatt comes out and has a typical season. Let's say he scores 40 goals and let's say, the same 45 to 50 assists. So just close to that 100-point season. This card was selling for $200 last season, and you're picking it up now for roughly $150 US with a pop count under 1,000. Doesn't that seem like a formula for success? And it's not really a big gamble because Wyatt's proven himself over the last 4 years. He has produced offensively. The Stars are usually a good team. They haven't quite made that push to the Stanley Cup like everyone expects them to, but it's not Wyatt's fault. He's producing. So that's why we have Wyatt Johnston as our second player that you want to consider, especially as young guns, PSA 10, for the various reasons that we mentioned. So we talked about Quinton, who's this is our last-ditch effort player. And we talked about a little bit more stable player whose card value is low in Wyatt Johnston. Now let's take a look at who I consider someone who's going to have solid upside, who maybe some people aren't thinking about. The player I'm talking about is a player who was born in my hometown and near where I was born in Northampton, Massachusetts. In the 2023 draft, he was selected 8th overall. Can you guess who that is? 8th overall pick, 2023 draft. Well, if you said Ryan Leonard, you'd be correct. So let's talk about Ryan Leonard from the Washington Capitals. And specifically, we'll talk about his Young Guns Silver Outburst rookie card. Now, when we look at Ryan Leonard's stats from last year, he played in 84 games. He had 21 goals and 25 assists. Pretty solid year for the kid. Not the greatest, not the worst. Solid. Ryan Leonard is known for his relentless physical play as well as his highly competitive style of play. He's 6 foot tall. He's 200 pounds. He's a power forward that has the knack for finding the back of the net. Doesn't that sound like a recipe for success when it comes to cards? In his freshman year, Leonard turned heads by scoring 20 goals, as we mentioned, and 45 points in 75 games. He became the first Washington Capitals rookie to hit 20 goals since Ovechkin did it in 05-06. That's not a bad trail to follow, right? The leading goal scorer, he did the same thing he did in the NHL. Not a bad idea. Now, you recall, too, he kind of turned heads at the IIHF World Tournament for Team USA. He really showcased his shot. It seems like it's gotten more powerful. A lot of people were talking about him. He was also the captain of that team, so the coaches have trust in him. This upcoming season, he is projected to be in a top 6 role. He's 21 years old, as we mentioned. The upward trajectory heading into this season is something that a lot of people are talking about. He's going to operate as a top offensive producer on an aggressively upgraded Capitals roster. They already have Ovechkin, but again, this kid's, I think, going to be more of that locomotive that helps push it along, where Ovechkin will be that, that older veteran kind of, he'll fill in and he'll do what he needs to do. He's going to play with Ovechkin probably in 5-on-5. He's also going to be on power play unit 1. All right. A lot of good traits as far as why we would want to go after his card. But another reason is when we talk about that Silver Outburst Young Guns rookie card, this is more of a rarity card. While Young Guns, the base ones, are highly sought after, the Silver Outburst Parallels seems to grab a lot more people's attention. It is a little bit harder to get. It's a 1 in 60 pack ratio to pull one of those cards. So again, the rarity, I know there's a bunch of them out there, but still, compared to the basic one, shiny is better, right? On top of it, I like to think this has the Ovechkin effect, especially with the fan base. This is maybe the next guy that's coming to maybe help, replace Ovechkin when he walks away. He could become a goal scorer. The Capitals fan base is going to love this kid, but he needs to perform. If we look at the last 3 sales for that Silver Outburst Young Guns card for Leonard, in May, one sold for $74 US. In June, another one sold for $81 US. A little increase, but check this out. In July, a couple of sales went on the board for $56 and $52 US. So let's look at it from the standpoint that if this kid's ready to take another step, maybe this year, maybe even next year, maybe it's a 2-year thing, but I think he's going to improve each one of these years. How long do you think you'll be able to get one of these cards for, say, $50, $60 US? Not long, people. So that's why I'm saying now's the time to really think about, if you believe in Ryan Leonard like I do, pick up this Young Guns Silver Outburst Raw. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised because my projection, when his offense starts to kick in, I'm thinking this is easily a $75 to $100 card, somewhere in there, if not more. So that's why these are the 3 players that I am currently going after this year before the season starts, especially for the reasons given. It was Ryan Leonard's Silver Outburst Young Guns card Raw, Quinn Byfield Future Watch Auto, and Wyatt Johnston's Young Guns rookie card PSA 10. Well, what do you think, people? Are these players you're interested in? Do you think I made a good choice? Well, let me know. Hit me up at our Instagram page at Top Shelf Cookie Sniper and let me know, or show me some cards that maybe I should consider looking at as far as potential stars to buy this offseason, where their financial gain will be a positive during this next NHL season. Now, before we move on to our final segment, I would just like to give a shout out to our sponsor. My Card Post has been a sponsor through all of my podcasts and all the things I do. Heck, I don't even know if he realizes how many times I've changed names for podcasts and all that, but either way, My Card Post has been there with me through this whole journey. Why do I like My Card Post? Because it's the best place to go buy, sell, and trade cards on the internet. Go check them out. You will love My Card. We're going to close out today's podcast talking about an area of the hobby that I'm going to be real honest with you, I'm a little worried about.
Trading card influencers.
Trading card influencers!
Yeah!
So today we're going to talk about trading card influencers on social media. Now, we're all aware how trading cards have evolved from a wholesome hobby for kids, for old men, either buying or trading cards at a nice price and just enjoying the hobby. But instead, this hobby has now turned into a hyper-capitalist speculative marketplace where thousands of dollars are exchanged for pieces of cardboard that can equal the value of a new car. I mean, card shows look more like the floor of the New York Stock Exchange lately. You saw the videos from the National or Fanatics Fest. I mean, come on. People are just running around, yelling, screaming, and trying to make deals, and it looks just like the New York Stock Exchange floor. But today, we need to talk about the carnival barkers of this modern cardboard financial apocalypse. These are the used car salesmen of the hobby, talking about
Trading card influencers.
Now, if you've spent even 5 seconds on YouTube or on Instagram or TikTok lately, I mean, you probably run across them quite regularly. They're these energetic, heavy, caffeinated either men or women or children who seem to spend their entire lives filming themselves, making these quote-unquote massive deals or ripping huge hits from boxes on a regular basis. Let's dive a little deeper into them and what they're portraying. So let's start with this idea of the easy deal. When you follow their videos, all of these videos have a very specific formula. I mean, here's your typical post. An influencer walks into a card show, right? And he's talking to the camera. He's usually carrying, that black briefcase or rolling his briefcase of cards. And he kind of looks more like a low-level, cartel boss or someone that's delivering a very secretive document for the Secret Service to a different country, it's the whole spy thing. Well, as they walk through, they're talking about maybe what they're looking for. And then they cut to a table, and they look down, and they see a card that they like. And then what happens next? Well, the lingo goes something like this. Oh, bro, I mean, I want that graded rookie auto. What can you do for me? Let's talk deal. So the video goes on, and it feels like 30 seconds go by. And within those 30 seconds, it's just nonstop rapid fire card market jargon, almost like a stroke victim trying to explain the stock market to somebody. It's just a lot of words being thrown out. But then after what seems to be 30 seconds or 45 seconds, they make a deal. This person throws a stack of $100 bills on the table, and the video ends typically with the guy looking at the camera and shouting or excited. I bought this $5,000 card that I know is a lot more that I can turn in ... right? We've all seen that video. And you know what? It's captivating. It's exhilarating. But it makes it feel too easy. It makes collecting cards look like a thrilling, high-stakes financial thriller where everyone's getting rich, right? Everybody's winning. Everybody has access to endless supplies of cash, and they're just dumping it on cards because it's even better than the stock market now. Except, I think there's a problem with that. For me, most of the time, it feels like utterly fabricated bullshit. Now, I should pause there and say, this is not all influencers. There's a lot of great influencers out there who show you a lot of great things. They show you history. They show you the deals, the realistic deals. But I'm specifically talking about the people that are, let's call them highly curated, hyper-real illusionists, if you would. What they're doing is they're showing you a transaction maybe that worked in too easy of a fashion, if I could say that. But as we all know, when it comes to these deals don't happen that easily. Maybe this deal did happen in real life, but maybe it took him 49 other deals before that failed to get to this one, which we never see. But the problem is it just seems like these deals happen so easily. And the other thing is, a lot of times, these deals are set up before the camera even starts rolling. I can say this because I've been to shows where I've seen some of these people. And what happens is, if they're a big influencer, they send people out to scout looking for cars that they want to potentially make deals for. And there's nothing wrong with that. I wish I had people that I could minions to send out to say, hey, find me this card or these cards. But the problem is, then you hear the conversation after. The problem with the conversation after is the scout talks to the person and says, this individual would like to purchase this card, but you need to work out this kind of deal beforehand. He needs to be at this ratio and all. So the deal's being set up before the cameras even turns on. They show you that the card was bought at what appears to be an incredible price, but they never seem to show you everything that happened behind the scenes to make that deal possible, right? Now it starts to feel a little staged, right? On top of it, these influencers will always bring up the fact that if you work this deal with me, this cross-promotion machine will work. In other words, all my followers will then follow you, or you'll make more sales because you're on my channel. Another thing that no one seems to take into account is the bigger you get as an influencer, well, guess what happens? Now you start to be backed by potentially corporate sponsorships or big money behind you. That's maybe why they're able to pull off these deals, because there's some kind of influence behind them or an income level that the average collector just doesn't have, like you and I. I mean, think of it this way. You know you're watching a card influencer when they walk into a card show with $40,000 in cash and somehow still say the phrase, you know, I'm trying to stay on budget today. I mean, come on. $40,000 budget, please. The average collector probably walks into a card show, I would guess, with an amount somewhere between $200 to $300, maybe $500. But the influencer walks in with 40 grand and says, let's see if we can find some bargains. I mean, come on, $40,000 bargains. Do you think any of these influencers are going through, the ones who make these big deals, do you ever see them going through dollar boxes? Some of them do. Majority of them don't. And that's the stuff they show you. But some people say, well, why would somebody do this? I mean, why would they mislead us when it comes to this stuff? Hello, people. The thought that if it's on the internet or it's on social media, that it must be true. I mean, have we not learned that these platforms lie to us on a regular basis, or that things are set up to perceive themselves as grandiose or beautiful or easier? And that's not the case. So when it comes to these influencers, that's the thing that bothers me, is when it feels too good to be true, when it comes to these deals. Not saying they're all bad, but there's a lot of them out there that it's just pure, let's call it Hollywood magic. Okay, that's the making the deal for the card. Let's talk about these same people who have these channels where they're opening boxes. Now, when you watch them, doesn't it feel like the majority of the time, if not every time, that they rip a box, that they seem to end up pulling a massive card out of there, or, a one of one, a huge rookie auto, or a card worth thousands of dollars out of a $200 to $300 or $400 box? I like the sites that when they show you ripping a box, they show you everything, the wins and the losses. I like to watch Ziri, who's been doing this forever. And you know what I like about him? You see every box, you see all the good and the bad and the ugly and everything in between. Consider the fact that boxes that we all buy, right? Let's say you buy a box that you'll pay $200 for. What's usually your average return in that box? If you were open like 5 of them, right? You're lucky if you get $35, $50 in value in return. But these people, they'll open boxes, and it seems like every video title is, I opened a $200 box and got $4,000 worth of value in return. I mean, how come we never see, I opened a $2,000 box and got absolutely jack poo-poo in return. These influencers are presenting a hobby world that only exists for maybe 1% of us collectors. And the problem with that is it's steering the hobby to a very unrealistic avenue, especially for new people coming into the hobby. This is because the reality, as we all know, if you've been in this hobby for a while, of card collecting is very different. When we're talking about making deals at shows or online or whatever, there's probably more rejected offers than the ones that are taken, especially big ones as far as dollar value. It's buying a card that maybe never moves for you, but we never see that. It's ripping multiple boxes and getting nowhere close to your money back, but we never see that. It's driving to a card show, spending money on things like gas, food, admission, cards, and then realizing, hey, you don't have enough money to even cover this trip in the cards that you bought, right? Doesn't that feel more realistic? And while all this is happening, if you're trying to follow their model, the only thing that really is happening to you is you're watching your bank account slowly diminish. We have to consider that, sadly, the reason why these people put these things out there for us to view is that reality, the truth about the trading card market, doesn't get clicks because it's not that exciting all the time. It happens from time to time. I mean, I'm sure that gentleman who ripped that Macklin Celebrini gold 1 of 1, that's a beautiful story. That's exactly what the hobby should be about. Didn't feel staged. That was just some guy picked a box and he got that card. Again, the reality of collecting isn't nearly as exciting as watching someone throw around thousands of dollars at a show or when they hit massive cards every 5 minutes on a stream that they have going or on a video. Consider that I've been collecting cards for years. Apparently, I'm doing this wrong. I should follow their kind of setup, right? Step 1, get a camera. Step 2, stop losing money privately and start fabricating money making publicity, social media posts. That seems to be the way you make money or you get ahead in the card world is you get a huge following, which then allows you to walk around and get better deals than us typical collectors get. But this actually raises a much bigger and frankly more disturbing question. If the trading card market isn't actually this fast-paced paradise of effortless profit that they're advertising to us on these channels, then what is it in reality? Is it really a market where everyone is consistently making money very easily? Or are we watching a carefully edited video or a version of the hobby that this video is portraying where these winning deals, these massive pulls, these big profits are shown over and over again, while the losses conveniently disappear from the camera and never get posted? If that's the case, then ask yourself, are trading card influencers actually showing us the hobby, or are they selling us their distorted dream or made-up version of the hobby? Because if what they're giving us is true, then I need to know what these influencers do for a living or how they came into this money. Because apparently my path skipped the $10,000 card every Tuesday portion of my life that I'm showing on camera that they seem to get all the time. So when it comes to these influencers, here's 5 points that we all need to consider. Let's not be enamored by the infinite money illusion. Meaning influencers, these ones that constantly appear to have thousands of dollars available for cards. They buy a $3,000 card here and they flip it instantly for $5,000. They rip a case and man, it seems like the first box is the big hit. That's something you want to be careful. When you're always profiting, that's not showing you the truth of the hobby. I mean, the average collector should think, how in the world are these people funding this? Where is this money actually coming from? And again, another question you can ask yourself is, are they making money from cards on these deals, or are the cards helping them make money through content, sponsorship, affiliated links, breaks, memberships, advertising? Are they just putting out the Hollywood version of it? I mean, maybe how they should present the hobby isn't the real business. Maybe the attention the influencer gets and the payout from that is what his real business is. Next, consider the fact that influencer may not or has a different cost basis that they go on. Most normal collectors pay market price or close to it for cards or products like boxes. But an influencer may get things like heavy discounts, free products, sponsorships that allows them to buy these cards at a very discounted price for things like promotional deals or maybe even just access to cards before even the general public has them. Is that what the true hobby market is? Now, they may also have dealers willing to give them better deals because, again, the dealer knows that this transaction is going to go on camera and that's going to equal clicks for both of them. And in their mind, it's a business transaction that has nothing to do with the card. I mean, that means their economics can be completely different from what you and me do in the hobby. Think of this. If you have a 20% advantage before you even make a deal or see a card that you want to do because you know that person's going to give it to you because they want to be on your channel, again, does that truly represent the market an average collector deals in? Next, consider what I like to call the algorithm rewards effect. Now, this is an important point because it explains why influencers behave this way. Social media is a created illusion that only shows the good, right? Nobody clicks or watches a post that's titled, I went to a card show and I had a meh day. People will click on the link that just says, I just bought a $10,000 card, or I just ripped a huge card from this product. What's happening here? Basically, these people have understood that social media algorithms promotes excitement. It promotes huge profits because that's what people want to see. They want to be entertained. No losses, massive pulls. The I can't believe this moment. So the content naturally becomes, again, more extreme over time because if you just kept doing the same thing, eventually someone's going to go look or people are going to go look for someone else that's doing more or it's more eye appealing to them. Consider now we have even female influencers who unfortunately don't talk about the cards as much, or they show the cards, but it's more about their personal assets on camera rather than it is the card. This is just to get you to watch their channel or their videos or their posts or what have you. What do those things have to do with the card market? Have you ever noticed it feels more like advertising like we used to see for things like cars or for watches or for cologne? That's what some of these influencers feel like, not an actual hobbyist. So the idea is the same when it comes to that. Whatever it takes to get your attention, that's what they're going to do. Finally, the last thing is when it comes to these influencers is how much of their content is about entertainment and how much of it is about education. Most influencers are trying to reach you on how to invest realistically. There are good people out there who have these channels that want to help you. They want to educate you. They're not entertainers. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with having both in the hobby. The reality is you need to be able to distinguish between the two and understand reality from fake and who the reality ones are out there, the ones that give you all this information truthfully and honestly. It comes down to one thing. Hype for views or clicks is one side. And the other side is this is a good financial decision because, or this truly represents the real hobby because here's all the information then that they'll give you. These are two totally different worlds. You need to be sure you understand the difference between the two. Consider it this way. If you're watching someone and they make you feel like they're educating you or they're giving you information that you can use, that's someone helping you, telling you the truth of the hobby. If what they're telling you or showing you feels more like a used car salesman trying to sell you a car that is really on its last leg, that slick kind of gross feeling you get from those people, well, maybe you're dealing with the other side of the spectrum. So in conclusion, at the end of the day, as I said, there's nothing wrong with making money in this hobby. There's nothing wrong with flipping cards, negotiating or getting good deals, opening boxes and getting these big hits, or chasing and getting a big card. But remember this, when you see some influencer pulling off huge, easy deals or ripping monster cards on a regular basis, remember, people, you're watching a fabricated highlight reel, not their entire journey to get to that. There's no losses. They're only showing you wins. You're not getting the full picture. What you don't see is everything that happens when the camera's off, the setup, what they go through, the fact that they send people to find these deals, or they're talking to them saying, I'm not going to record this unless you give me that deal. If you want to watch it, enjoy the content for what it is, that's fine. Learn from it. Let it entertain you. But that's not true education. Don't confuse someone else's highlight reel with the hobby reality. Remember, if it feels too good to be true, it probably is. At the end of the day, collect what you love. Collect what you can afford. And remember, the only thing guaranteed to go up in the hobby is the influencer's subscriber count. Enjoy the influencers for what they are. Enjoy the deals that they portray, the monster pulls. But remember, if every card was guaranteed to be a winner, like they show you, these guys wouldn't need you. We would all be doing it. We would all be sitting on the beach surrounded with huge amounts of cash and cards, but that's just not what the reality is. People, please be careful out there when it comes to certain. Well, there you go. The new Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Pod 2.0 is in the books. It was a little rough going. Still have to get my feet under me. It's kind of like if you haven't skated in a while and you get on the ice, you don't just jump and go, right? You know, it takes you a minute to kind of get things going. But we will get this thing on track and we will be flowing real nice real soon. As always, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and checking out the new version of the podcast. Also, I'd like to thank everyone who gave me kind words, who really built me up, who encouraged me to do this again. I'd like to thank the gentleman over at the Caffeine and Cardboard podcast, to Andrew and to Eric. If you don't know, I was on their last recent episode, episode 7, where we talked about the podcast. We talked about coming back and a bunch of other things. If you haven't done so, go check them out. They are one of my top podcasts that I listen to now. They're relatively new, really intelligent. They're not going to be, like we mentioned, these influencers that are slick. They're going to tell it like it is. They're going to share their experiences, their knowledge. These are the type of people you need to check out. For the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card Podcast, I'm your host, Jay. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in into the Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Hockey Card. Remember, this is not a financial advice podcast. Thank you for tuning in.